Hey, we are going to jump into a communication and problem solving workshop for management. Ultimately, we just want to set you up for success and keep developing you. And I'm going to go over now what we're going to talk about. Okay, so have our introduction, training objective. We're going to go over the problem solving hierarchy. I'm going to go over some examples for that. We're going to go over the communication hierarchy or roadmap and have some samples for that. Okay, so why do we need this training? Organization, duplication, efficiency, and the notion that we are all a work in progress. So we really want to add some layers of to our communication and really have a roadmap of knowing when to use what style of communication. Also having a deeper understanding of problem solving within the company and knowing kind of whose problems are what and how do we who do we go to solve this, or what's the expectation with problems like this. Duplication, we are an expanding company. We do have plans to open new locations, and the more we can create a streamlined process of communication and have that understanding of whose problems are are whose, we can bring these new locations and really get the ball rolling quickly with them. So they are a well-oiled machine. Like this is how we do it at Blue Jay. Okay, efficiency, we don't want to waste anybody's time. Also, efficiency, if you want to think about it in this way, let's say we don't use proper communication and we actually miscommunicate. It can cost us a lot of time. It can cost us money too. And it's because we didn't use the proper way of communicating. It made us really inefficient. Okay. And like I said, works in progress. We are all trying to get better and develop. And we don't ever expect perfection, but we do expect progress. All right, so moving on to the problem solving hierarchy. So, really, who solves what type of problems? We are going to start with the technician level problems. And I'm going to go through this quickly, but I do want you to maybe look back and kind of study this. And it's very simple, but it's nice to see it just laid out as a graphic, maybe make a little more sense in your brain. But technician level problems, individual impact, low consequences, quick decisions. They happen frequently, probably daily, and it affects them and individual clients. And maybe affect their supervisor if they have to get pulled down into a problem. But generally, it's just little things. And we'll go over some samples on the next page or the next slide when we get there. So, supervisor level problems. These have a smaller financial impact, and the problems generally take, some days to a few weeks to solve. It affects that supervisor's specific location, their specific client base, and their staff. Manager level problems, they are financially significant. They generally take 90 days or less to solve, so it could take up to 3 months for some of these problems. It does affect the majority of the staff or customers in their region, and they are definitely some deeper level problems that take a bit longer to solve. Okay, executive level problems. These are large scale, slow moving, and big impact. They affect the entire company. They would nothing is rushed into. These are well thought out, well planned, and sometimes just slow to execute. But like I said, they can have a really big financial impact too. So the executive level problems, they definitely are solved much slower, but they're bigger too. Okay, so here are some sample discussions for the problem solving hierarchy. I'm going to go over some of these, and we are going to go over whose problem is this. All right, and the typos, I'm sorry, I'll fix them. I'll have to fix them later. We need to change the training program. That is an executive level problem. That's going to take a lot of time. It's going to take a lot of thought and energy and it affects everybody. And it could be extensive if, depending on what route that problem gets solved. All right, we got a client complaint. This is a supervisor problem. The techs aren't supposed to be dealing with the complaints. It's the supervisor that should be dealing with the complaint. It could get escalated up the management chain depending on the complaint, but it's going to start with the supervisor solving that problem. Right. There is excess mineral deposit on glass. It's going to be your cleaning tech. That's their problem to solve. They could bring it up to their supervisor if they need help, but generally they can solve that problem. All right. Our profit margins are dropping. That's an executive level problem. It's going to take a lot of time to figure out what is going on. How do we solve this? How do we increase our profit margins? All right, the cleaning tech quit with no notice. Definitely not the cleaning tech's problem. They're done. It's going to be the supervisor's problem. And they may need to pull their manager in to help them, but that supervisor immediately has to go into problem-solving mode for this issue. Payroll processor is down. Ooh, let's hope this doesn't ever happen. But this is an executive level problem. Even if we didn't run our own payroll, executive level would have to get involved in this to make sure everybody, because it affects everyone, and make sure everybody gets paid. And it's a big deal. All right, Google leads are declining. Currently at our company size, this is an executive level problem. We don't expect our supervisors or managers to get digital leads. Okay, the client's dog left a poop on the floor. That's a cleaning tech problem. They might say something to their supervisor, but that's a problem the cleaning tech needs to address and execute on solving that problem. Okay, my glass cleaner is missing. That is another cleaning tech problem. They it happens all the time. So they have to make a quick decision, and it affects them and maybe their client. All right. The client asked for out of scope work. This is actually a supervisor problem. The tech should communicate. It initially starts with the tech, but the supervisor has to solve this problem and communicate with the client regarding the issue. All right, we need to create accountability systems. This would be an executive level problem. It's going to take a long time to solve. It's going to affect everybody, and it could have a big financial impact. Cleaning tech went to the wrong house. So this is a cleaning tech problem, but they're probably going to pull the supervisor in to help them solve that problem. And as a supervisor, you're going to have to probably communicate with the client what's going on. All right. The flu is rampant and multiple employees are out sick. This is a supervisor problem who probably needs to reach out to their manager and get some help and some guidance on how to solve this problem, because it does affect, it does have a bigger financial impact. All right, the cleaning tech's morale is down an entire location. This is the supervisor's problem. And like the problem before, they probably need to pull in their manager, but ultimately that supervisor has a responsibility for their team. And let's say their team's morale is down. It's up to the supervisor to start initiating the problem solving for that. Okay, tax audit. Let's hope this doesn't happen. This is an executive level problem. It could be very time consuming. It could have a big financial impact, and the executive team is going to have to be the ones dealing with something like a tax audit. All right. This is an interesting one. Opportunity to take on a massive client in a specific location. This one is actually a manager level problem that if the supervisor gets the opportunity and the lead, the supervisor needs to pull the manager into this. And there's going to be discussions on how can we take this client on? Do we have the ability to take this client on? Some real life scenarios are going to be like post-construction cleans, a big apartment complex, and things like that, where the manager might have to step in and take some action to help you solve the problem so we can take on that big client. All right, so moving on to the communication roadmap. This is very simple, and it's something that I would like to share with the cleaning techs as well. But this is to keep our communication organized and efficient and to prevent us from having miscommunications. Okay, so the first thing is non-time sensitive communication. Email, very simple, very easy. Something like, Matt liked to use the example of the t-shirts. And let's say we need to order more t-shirts, then we can send an email. We don't need to bring it up in a meeting. We don't need to text this. It's something that can be handled over the course of a week or so. And the communication back and forth can all take place via email. Okay, time sensitive, simple, and non-emergency. That's going to be a text message. And simple, is key there. We're trying to prevent these massive long paragraphs of where it should have been a conversation. None of us have time to decipher a 1,000-word paragraph from a cleaning tech, from each other. If we have to do that, let's make a phone call. But texts are going to be very simple, and they're not so time pressing that if it gets missed, or it doesn't get seen at the end of the day, it's not going to make a difference. The next type of communication is a phone call, and that's really when back and forth dialogue is needed. And wait, say hi, Matt. You can see you in the background. So these, to eliminate these long text messages or complicated text messages, let's have just a phone call. It's so much easier. You can really not have anything misinterpreted either, especially if something has an emotion attached to it. And you're let's say you are frustrated about something, or it could appear you might have been frustrated. We don't want to get lost and we don't want people misinterpreting our emotions in a text message. So let's make that phone call. An emergency, obviously emergency is time sensitive. Always make a phone call. If the person you're trying to call does not answer, send them a text, say, hey, emergency, I need you to call me. And if they don't answer, you need to get in touch with somebody, then you can move up the management chain, the management level, if nobody is corresponding with you. So a reminder, communication is only needed between two people. We're not going to bring it up in a meeting. You guys can have a separate meeting, a separate conversation. We're trying to be real efficient with our meeting time, right at 30 minutes. We don't want to take away that time for things that are not necessary for that meeting. And when it comes to correspondence with something like emails, I want those emails, they need to be checked at least twice a day. When you're starting your work day, and then at the end of the day. And the end of the day is around 5 o'clock or so. It's if somebody sends you an email at 3 o'clock and you don't see it till the next day, it's good to handle some of that email communication at the end of your day, because a lot of the things in the email might just take a couple minutes to do, to solve, and then that task can be marked as complete. And also, if you have missed calls, they do need to be returned by the end of the day as well. We don't want to be pushing off clients. We don't want to be pushing off because our clients don't necessarily follow our communication roadmap either. And it might be something really important that you miss. And we do want to handle all those phone calls by the end of the day. Okay, so to wrap this up, we're going to go over a few scenarios when it comes to proper communication. These are just some examples thrown out there. So a cleaner didn't show up to a job. This is a phone call. You're going to have to call the client. You're going to have to call your manager and just let them, hey, we have a problem. So-and-so didn't show up. There's we don't want to be stuck in text land with something like this. All right, we need to figure out why Blue Jay got fired. Well, we're already fired. So this is an email, and this is something that you might get an email from me saying, "Hey, I saw that we lost this client. What happened?" And that way I can collect data, but it's not an emergency. It's not pressing. It could give me some time to gather data and then maybe try to get the client back, but it's not really necessary to have immediate answers. Okay. This next one's it's a little tricky because it depends on the scenario. So the vacuum broke and we need to purchase a new one. First scenario is the vacuum broke when a tech was at a house and there is a backup one in storage. We get in the backup. How do we communicate? Probably just a quick text message. Probably texting Matt. Hey Matt, I need to pick up a vacuum in the next couple days. Am I good to go to get one? Very simple. The other scenario is cleaner is at the house, vacuum breaks, there is no backup. We should always have a backup, but if they don't, you would want to call Matt. Hey Matt, vacuum broke. I got to get one now. Are we good? And chances are, yeah, absolutely. Go get a vacuum. And you see, it's that was more time pressing, and we needed to do that to get the job done. And it was if that text didn't get seen by the end of the day, and you didn't go get your vacuum, the job, it could cause a lot of problems. All right, so this scenario, we need to schedule a meeting that's going to take place in 2 weeks. 100% an email. We don't need to be group texting about this. This is going to be an email. We don't want to waste people's time reading this text message. Not time sensitive. Yeah. So next scenario, which actually happened, a team member got hurt on the job. So if somebody gets hurt, this is a emergency. It's a phone call. This is a big deal. We have to do the proper steps to handle this scenario. So we don't want to put this off. We don't want to text about this. We don't want to email about this. We need to get someone on the phone right away. That is your manager or at the executive level, just to keep everybody in the loop. So the two things, as we wrap this up, the two things to remember when it's coming to communication is how complicated is this, and is it time sensitive? And those two, just ask yourself those two questions before any communication happens, and you should know the right way to communicate. And then, to be really good, we can teach us the cleaning text as well. They will communicate with you how you train them to communicate with you. If you are getting these super long texts, we can go over, the communication roadmap with them. And because I know this happens a lot with some of these texts, and they can learn when's the right time to send you a text message, when's the right time to call you, or when should they just email you. So, all right. Well, I hope you got a little bit out of this. I know it was very simple and basic, but sometimes it's nice to have all this training in, an organized form, and then you can carry that with you and pass it on to your team. All right. Thanks a lot.